Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be making some easy home decor. I'm going to be using some Dollar Tree items along with some other items that I had kind of just in my stash lying around the house, trying to work through a lot of what I have before I go buy more things. We're going to be doing some farmhouse home decor DIYs, but you can change them up to fit your individual style. Let's get started. This first piece obviously was a Christmas piece that I picked up on clearance. Was trying to check here if it was at Dollar Tree or Dollar General. I think it was Dollar General because I usually buy clearance items there. If that's the case, I probably paid like 20 cents for it. So I'm going to start with just using my heat gun to soften up the glue to take off the embellishment. I'm going to take a little bit more time with this DIY to show you how to really make it a blank and go from scratch. And then I do a lot of the same things with some of my other DIYs, but I'm not going to drag that all out and show you for each one. So what I'm going to do with this one is just spritz it. You can just use a little bit of water, and then I'm going to lay a paper towel down. I will add a little bit more on top just to make sure it's nice and damp, and just let that sit and soak up. These signs, whether you pick them up at a thrift store, Hobby Lobby clearance, Dollar Tree, Dollar General, a lot of them are made of MDF, but this does work on wood as well. Sometimes you have to do a couple of times because there's like a plasticky paper, then there's like the under paper, and then there's like a glue level. Sometimes they'll come off at once, but I'm just using a little scraping tool. I think this is actually like a putty knife, and I'm going to scrape it. I will speed this up a little bit for you, but it really didn't take too long. You can also sand these down, but some of them are so thin that sanding can be dangerous to do. You might destroy the piece. I did have to go in for just a little bit extra for one little corner. Or maybe it's just too cold, or you don't have a sander, or whatever. So I just wanted to show you this. This is a great way. Now, some pieces are easy to do this for than others. Sometimes they just don't come off that easy, or maybe you don't need to. If you're going to put down a scrapbook paper or something like that, you may not need to do that. You can also try painting over the paper, but sometimes that will peel off. So I'm also just going to use my heat gun to warm up the sticker on the back. But this is just a great way to give you a really good base. You can take anything you have, even if it's just an old home decor piece that you had lying around that you don't like anymore, you can just change it up. And I just wanted to kind of show you that process. I won't show you that process for all of these. I'm going to give this a coat of white Waverly chalk paint. I wanted to thin it out a little bit because the chalk paint is so thick, but I didn't really want to water it down. So I just made sure my paintbrush was a little bit damp before I dipped it into the paint. And then I'm doing a little bit of a rough coat. I didn't go all the way to the top because we're going to cover that. And I didn't worry about some of the edges showing through because we're going to go for a little bit more of a distressed look. I have some beautiful transfers that were given to me by a couple of friends, some of my YouTube friends. I don't remember who gave me which ones, but Myra from Farm Fresh Designs 59 and Kendra from Late Night Creations have been so generous and shared some of their transfers with me. And so I pulled out this really adorable Farmers Market one. And I actually had trouble with this one. I don't normally have trouble with transfers. I've also used Dollar Tree transfers, and you can get them on Amazon. So this is just a suggestion to use transfers. But I did want to show you my struggle with this transfer. I'm pretty sure what happened was my paint was dry, but there's a difference between your paint drying and your paint setting. So when I tried transferring some of this, I don't think the paint was fully set, and it pulled off my transfer, and I was like, but I really like this one. My chicken can't not have a head on it. So I wanted to show you what I did, and it actually worked pretty good. Of course, this works best if you're going for a more rustic distressed look, but I did make it work. So what I ended up doing was peeling this piece off of the transfer sheet, and there was still a couple pieces missing, but it worked okay. I used my glue stick, and I just spread that on there and then laid this transfer over it, and I just let that dry nice and good. And once I distress this a little bit more, you're not even going to be able to notice. So I'm going to let that dry, and then up at the top of this tag, I wanted to add a little bit of texture. So I'm using this leather piece from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to cut off a scrap of this, and we're going to put this on the top. I'm using my glue stick for this as well. Kristen over at Kristen K, she's another great DIY channel. She uses a glue stick for everything. And Kristen, I'm like, if you can do this, I'm going to give this a try. She's used it on things that you would never think you can use a glue stick on. Well, it worked for this thick material. So when in doubt, use a glue stick. So thank you, Kristen. And then I'm just going to trim that down. That trimmed off really easy. These leather pieces, I've had them for so long. I have them in a couple colors, and I'm like, I really need to start using them. They really are great. I may have even gotten them back when it was only $1. And then I'm just using my little pokey tool to poke the hole through. And then I wanted to add some twine back in. And in my stash, I had this twine piece that has those little plastic pieces on the end that you take off of like a Dollar Tree sign. They're almost like the end of a shoelace. And I was like, ooh, this is going to make it a little bit easier to thread through the hole. So I grabbed that instead of just one of my other pieces of twine. I did cut off those plastic pieces. And then I'm very carefully distressing the rest of this. I'm going to distress a little bit of the sides. Pull that MDF sign underneath works really great for the distress look. Over the transfer, you need to go super, super light, otherwise you may pull it up. And then at the end, if you want, you can go ahead and seal it. I did not. Maybe I should go back and do that. But I love how this little piece came out. And this was a super fun one, and it used things I already had on hand. If you don't have transfers, you could use stickers. You could cut out pages from a calendar. You could print off something online. So lots of free printables, lots of different ways to get this look, but let me know what you think down below. This next one is another sign from the Dollar Tree. I just didn't show you the whole process of getting it down to the bottom. Actually, I think I just flipped this one over. I was having trouble with it and used the back side. So that's something else that you can do. And then I'm giving this a light coat of white paint. And then this is the frame that it came out of. And it's a pretty plasticky, glossy finish. So I'm going to sand it down to make the paint stay better on it, but be careful with some of these frames. They can be a little fragile when you sand them. Not so much falling apart like at the seams, but just getting really rough because it's not a wood frame. And then I'm going to go in with some black paint by Waverly. And I'm going to, once again, I'm doing a pretty thorough coat, but I'm going to let some of that color peek through if it wants to. I'm not really worried about it. Also, this is another one that I probably should seal with some Mod Podge because these frames, sometimes I think the paint can chip off of them, but if you seal them in with Mod Podge, they really do hold well. I just didn't because I was trying to get this video done. So I might go back and do some sealing on some of these projects, but that's up to you. And I'm just going to give this one coat of black paint. I didn't do the back side, but once again, if you want that finished look, you can. But I made sure that anything that you would be seeing is going to be painted. So that little inside edge I did also paint. And to make sure I don't have the same transfer problem, because I'm going to use transfers again, I went in with my heat gun to really make sure this was dried and set. And then I also had these chickens in my stash. I apparently didn't remember to turn the camera on in the beginning, but you know how that works. If you're not familiar with transfers, they all work pretty similar, but some are better than others, and it does vary based on the surface that you are transferring as well. But basically, you're going to lay them down. You're going to use a tool of some kind. Sometimes you can just use your fingernail. It really depends. And just scrape them on until that transfers from the transfer sheet onto the surface that you are transferring it to. Yes, I'm saying transfer a lot. Once you get that done, you're going to use that top sheet to rub in the transfer. It's called burnishing, and it just kind of helps make sure it's all in there. And then I'm going to just pop this back into this black frame. Not much to this one. You could also add a little twine bow or something else if you wanted. Here you can see the back of that sign. If you want to finish that, go ahead and finish it. I'll probably go back and do another DIY with this. So I just left it for now. But, you know, if this is on a shelf, you don't want someone to see the back side there. You can put just some craft paper on it if you want as well. This can also be hung up on the wall. But I really love how this one came out. You can kind of see here some of the parts of the frame that had that little bit more of a distressed look. And that's totally up to you if you want to do that or not, obviously. But I love how this came out. Super simple. And it's got the cute little chickens. If you want the simple farmhouse / rustic look in your decor, but maybe you don't want to include the farm animals. Maybe you're someone who says, I don't live on a farm. It feels weird to have farm animals. But I do like that overall rustic look. This is obviously clearly very sped up for you. But I'm going to make a little book stack, and I just wanted to kind of give this idea to you. I'm using books that I had on hand, either that people gave me that I didn't, I'm not interested in, or maybe I read them, but I'm not ruining the book. So when I was a kid, we would wrap our school books with, well, we usually use brown paper bags, which might be a little bit easier than this craft paper from the Dollar Tree because a brown paper bag would be a little bit stiffer and it would hold a little bit better. But I had the craft paper, so that's what I'm using. I'm putting very little tape on the book itself. I'm trying to tape the paper onto itself instead of the paper onto the book. And therefore, if you're worried about damaging a book, if that bothers you, this is a way to change up the books, use them for decor without ruining them. You can also pick them up at thrift stores or the Dollar Tree, but I just used some that I had on hand. They're not super thick books, and they're all soft covers, but this is just a very easy way to do it. So then just trim off the edges. No genius way to this. Anyways, I did 3 of the books, and one of them I wanted to add some texture and I wanted to do burlap. Now, because I'm putting these in a stack, I didn't have a lot of burlap. I didn't worry about covering the entire book with it. I'm just going to make sure I'm covering the spine of the book. If you are going to be seeing the front and back of this, then you're going to want to either cover the whole thing with burlap, or you're going to want to make it look a little bit, neater edges. But I wasn't worried about it because I knew you wouldn't be seeing it. I'm just using a little bit of hot glue. You do have to be careful when pressing that down because the hot glue does come through the burlap. And I'm just trimming that down, and then we're going to stack our book. So I know I sped that up. Hopefully that's not too fast for you. And I thought of adding like a transfer to the top of the book or something, but I really wanted to keep this simple, neutral, no words, just a piece that can layer in with your decor. And I really just like this rustic look. I had this kind of lighter colored twine in my stash that is from the Dollar Tree. I've had it forever. And I'm just going to wrap that around like 3 times and tie it into a knot. You can get as fancy as you want. If you're having a hard time with that and the books are sliding around on you, you can also put a little bit of hot glue in between each of the books to help them stay together. But I didn't need to do that. And you can add a little sprig of greenery underneath this twine. But once again, I wanted this piece to be just super simple and neutral. I'm not showing you this styled with other items. I'm still settling into my house and I don't have a lot of surfaces to share that with you. But I think this would be cute with a little plant on top or standing up on a bookshelf next to a vase or something like that. It's just simple and it's neutral, and maybe you can use something that you are already have on hand and not even need to purchase anything. And then you can uncover them if you want to in the future. So let me know what you think about this one. This was another sign that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and I only partially cleaned off the background because I decided I was going to be covering this with a thicker cardstock paper. I'm once again using my glue stick. This is a time where those purple glue sticks came in really handy because of the type of thing surface I was gluing it on. I could make sure I got all of the edges, and I'm going to use this. It's like a craft paper colored cardstock. I got it from HTV Ron. I worked with them a long time ago. But you could use any scrapbook paper, craft stores, Hobby Lobby. They all have scrapbook paper, and you can go as neutral as you want or a fun pattern depending on what you're doing. In fact, you could really just use a really pretty scrapbook paper and not have to do anything else. I'm just making a little framed piece of art, and actually I'd wanted to just do a light beige colored paint and then put a transfer over it. But because of the sign I decided to use, rather than having to clean that all up, I decided to just put down this craft paper, and it worked great. So I'm using my glue stick, then trimming that down. I did do a little bit of sanding on the edge. Just sand away from the paper, don't sand up. But it really wasn't necessary because it's going to be going back in a frame and you won't even see the edge. Another transfer that I had in my stash were these cotton stems. And I had just looked at some like artwork. You know, sometimes I like words, but sometimes I feel like everything has words. And so I was just like trying to get some ideas and inspiration, looking on Pinterest or store websites, wherever you like to see decor, just for some inspiration. And I was like, I just kind of wanted some nature pieces. And the cotton, this is kind of another thing that you can have if you don't want farms in your farmhouse decor. We have a lot of cotton fields around here in North Carolina, and they are so beautiful. So anyways, I just thought this would make a very simple artwork piece. I had this one long cotton stem, and then I had a couple smaller ones that I'm piecing together. And I think this would also be really pretty in like a set. So when you're looking to get some inspiration for your crafts, of course, come to DIY channels like my own. I hope that I do inspire you. But you can go on to like your favorite stores, or maybe stores you don't shop at, Kirkland's or Hobby Lobby, or when you're in the store looking around, and just get some ideas for some artwork and then figure out how to make that happen. I had actually cut off too much of the stem, so I'm just adding that back in there. And that is it for this one. I'm not even going to paint the frame because I liked the color of the frame, but there's so many different possibilities. And you can also buy free printables, not free, buy inexpensive printables on Etsy, so your DIYs don't have to be complicated, and you can, there's all sorts of ways. But I hope that these ideas gave you a little bit of inspiration and ideas for your DIYs. All right, well, that is it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That helps me out so much. Say hello to me down in the comments, or just leave an emoji. Any little bit helps me out, but I do love to hear from you if you want to actually leave a comment. Subscribe if you are new, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.